And we are back with our 12th edition of Nance and Office Hours. It's been, I guess, three months, roughly, since we started doing this. How you doing this week, Alex?
Doing well, doing well. Markets are looking good. 51,000 BTC. How are you doing?
Can't complain. I actually haven't really looked at the prices too much this morning, uh, but yeah, things number go up.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. In the newsletter last weekend or last Friday, I uh, I feel like every newsletter I'm writing, we're at a new all-time high. Last week I wrote it. The week before I wrote it. Fingers crossed this week I'm writing it again. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good news out there. I mean, there's also the MicroStrategy leveraged trade on
Hmm.
BTC, which probably helps the price. There's also the announcement of Bitwise launching a new DeFi fund, which is pretty cool because it lets accredited investors, or let's say more traditional investors, indirectly invest in things like Uni and Aave and other DeFi tokens, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
So all in all, there's a lot of cool stuff happening. And by the way, Bitwise is also the company that wrote a really, really good report on wash trading on exchanges and fake volume. So if anyone's interested in that, I would recommend trying to Google that report. It's a really, really good report on exchanges, some exchanges messing with their volume numbers and doing basically wash trading.
that's all for centralized exchanges, though, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Let's wait for the report on decentralized exchange wash trading of people flashing orders on and off to
Yeah,
collect some retroactive airdrops.
yeah. I have seen wash trading on dexes. Typically, it's tokens that want to just inflate their own volumes.
How do they
And
go about
then,
it?
well, I remember this was maybe 2 years ago when I saw I think it was certain relayers on 0x where you saw kind of suspiciously consistent activity. And it was basically someone trading, I suppose, their own token, just programmatically back and forth. And spending some gas and spending some fees on it, but they, I guess, wanted to climb on the rankings and give the appearance of actually having real volume on dexes.
Nice. Well, speaking of spending gas, let's start diving into our dashboards here because this week we have launched a fresh new look on the gas tracker. And for anyone new here, welcome. Feel free to ask any questions in the chat on the right hand side. We're happy to dive into any tokens or projects that you're interested in. But basically, this hour will be us just diving through our dashboards and trying to find interesting projects. Hopefully some alpha, and answering any questions you guys have. So let's kick it off, Alex.
All right. So gas tracker, why is this interesting? Well, first of all, gas track. Everyone's painfully aware of gas these days on Ethereum. Um, so the first question that everyone asks, of course, is like, what's the gas price right now? And you can see that in this chart, but you can also see how it has developed over the last 7 days. So actually, it's the last 7 days. I think this is actually the last 24 hours. We might have made a change there now that I look at it. Um, you can also see how much has been spent in Ether on gas in the last hour, the last 24 hours, and in the last 7 days. And if you scroll down a bit more, you get to some of the more interesting stuff because here you can see this one is over the last 7 days. You can see which entities are responsible for the spending of gas on the Ethereum network. And this is out of the top 20 gas spenders. So what we do is we look across all the entities that we have associated addresses with in Nansen, and then we take the top 20 spenders of those, and then this chart shows the breakdown, of those. So Binance, for example, is on some days as much as half of all the gas spending among these top 20. So that's pretty high. And you can see some other big names here. So you see the names up here to the left, right? When I'm hovering through this, Huobi, Nexo, Kraken, FTX, Alameda Research, big gas spender, Crypto.com, KuCoin, OKX, Bittrex, Coinbase, Gemini, Bitstamp, DYDX, Binance US, which is a separate entity, Chainlink, Upbit, Argent, and Gate.io. So what's the common theme here? I mean, these are all pretty much like centralized entities, right? Because these are the ones that are spending the gas. They are not the smart contracts themselves. These are basically the externally owned accounts that, you know, trigger gas spending through the sending of tokens, primarily, but also the sending of ether, and in some cases also deploying smart contracts and so on and so forth.
How are we distinguishing between Binance and Binance US?
Uh, how are we distinguishing between them? Because they have separate wallets, so
Got it.
the custody is different. Binance US has its own set of wallets, maybe for regulatory reasons or maybe for just practical reasons. But yeah, it's a separate entity and it has separate holdings. Gas spender entities and gas spender accounts. This is like the same thing as what you saw above. You know, this is the chart over 7 days, but you can also see it just in a table, the same information. And we also have it broken down like on the specific addresses that are spending. So sometimes it's not a specific entity that we know, right? This one, which is just labeled as high gas consumer, which makes sense because it's the 4th largest consumer in the last hour. And you can actually click it. If I click this, it's going to pop up the Etherscan address for it. We're going to change this so that it takes you to the wallet profiler. But these are all clickable, so just so you know that. There's also a Flash Boy down here, which means it's basically active in flash loans and ARBs. And you see some other like high activity addresses here. So, but a lot of it is like BlockFi, Binance, FTX, Crypto.com, like basically the same entities you saw over there. So the difference really here on the left versus the right is these guys are entities that can have multiple addresses. Like Binance, we have something like 3 million addresses associated with Binance. And then over here are the individual addresses. So these are the spenders. But if you scroll down, you get what we call consumers. And the consumers are the smart contracts that consume the gas. And here the picture is different. And it's a funny split between CeFi at the top and DeFi down here among the consumers. Because DeFi obviously is run by smart contracts. So here you see a lot of smart contract entities. The big one that consumes a lot of gas is Uniswap. And Uniswap is like cruising at around 40% of all the gas that the top 20 entities consume. So it's a really big gas spender or consumer. 1inch Exchange is another one. Wrapped Ether, Tether, USD Coin. And in fact, I'll show you afterwards, but just these 5 here are basically like 40% of all gas consumption on Ethereum. SushiSwap, Aave, 0x, MetaMask Swaps, which is kind of a new kid on the block, but it's been growing really fast. Synthetics, MakerDAO, Curve, Kai token or Chi token, Balancer, Compound, Argent, Chainlink, again, Token Lawn, Tornado Cash, and DYDX. So yeah, so those are the gas consumers. And as I mentioned, you know, if you look at, you can check this column here. It says the percentage that they spend of all the gas consumption, right? The above is just the percentage out of the top 20. But Uniswap is like 20% of all gas consumption on Ethereum on its own. So it's pretty massive. And if you take Uniswap, you know, 1inch and Tether, that's like 30%, right? And if you add Wrapped Ether and USD Coin, that's another like 6%. So these are like 36% these ones on their own. So yeah, that gives you like a picture of why is gas so high. I mean, well, because people are using these products on Ethereum. That's like a lot of what they do.
So when gas is getting bid up and the price is going through the roof, what is the main driver? Is that the gas spenders spending more? Is it the gas consumers consuming more?
Yeah.
Like what
So
is really the process when gas gets bid up?
yeah, so just to clarify that a bit. So it's not like the consumers down here are kind of like competing with the spenders. Like on the contrary, when Binance has high gas fees, that's because it's using the Tether contract to send. I mean, it does also many other tokens, but for example, whenever Binance sends Tether, that's sort of logged as Binance spending gas, but then Tether is consuming the gas, if that makes sense. So it's not like they're competing against each other, but you can, putting two and two together. I mean, like Binance, for example, sending out a lot of Tether and USD coin, is some of the reason, and then Uniswap and probably also 1inch processing things like wrapped ether probably also drives it. But so the way I would think about this, because you asked the right question, like what's driving gas? Well, the stuff that's driving gas is what you see in these tables. So it's like these entities that are processing token transfers and so on, and it's these smart contracts that are being used, by people and the entities that we saw on the table above. So what I would recommend is when gas is really high, like if you're curious, like what's actually happening under the hood, just open up this dashboard, and very often you'll see, hey, there's this, huge increase in activity from like BlockFi or something because they're deploying lots of new contracts, and that could be why the gas price is high, or it's like a token sale, or it's some kind of new yield farm that people are aping into. This gives a pretty good indication of what's happening.
Yeah, like right now I see that so rare SOR tokens under
Mm.
gas consumers that I've never seen before.
Yeah, I've not seen them either actually. So that's pretty interesting.
Should we dive in?
So yeah, I mean, why not? Let's have a look at this one, right?
Yeah,
This is the token. By the way, we have no idea if this is like a scam or something, right? But
yeah.
we
Avert,
just see
avert
it
your
here.
eyes in case anything bad comes up.
Um, well, we could plug this into token god mode.
Right, maybe pull up the website first, in the top right there.
Oh,
Like the
this one, yeah, this one.
yeah.
I want to spin it up in the background actually, just to load it up because I'm curious. Global Fantasy Soccer.
Okay,
Hmm.
this is like a Top Shots
Like
for
NFT
soccer.
type thing, maybe. Interesting. We keep discovering stuff on these office hours.
That's what we're here for.
Maybe it's an NFT though, so I'm not sure how this is going to look in token god mode, but let's see. Let's just plug it in there and see what happens. Huh. So rare. So maybe this is a good time to ask if someone in the chat actually knows about this project. They're spending gas at least. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily hugely popular. They're spending a lot of gas.
Right. I guess some of the things that you could look at would be the number of holders of SOR token to see if it's actually getting some sort of traction. We could also pull up the hot contracts dashboard and see if they've received a decent amount of inflows. Wow, that's an interesting.
I think,
The
yeah, I think
numbers look
what's
interesting on there.
I think the thing is that this is probably an NFT, and so it might look really funky in this dashboard. Because NFTs, they look a lot like ERC20s. Well, these are, assuming this is an NFT, it's probably an ERC 721, and they look like ERC20s. And they, like, for example, there's a value field often that gets used as like the ID, and so that can screw up the data in some cases. And in fact, it does here. It looks pretty crazy.
Wait, did you intentionally
But you
have
can,
did you intentionally have decimal set to 0?
yes, yeah, that was to try to fix that problem.
Oh, okay.
Actually, let me see if this works. I mean, this is kind of like misusing this dashboard, to be honest. Like, it's bad practice, but why not? Let's see what happens. I think if I reload this, with a different set of decimals, it might look a little bit better, but it might not as well, because it's probably taking IDs as the value, and then the way we're parsing it, we're assuming it's an ERC20, and it screws up the data. So, this is kind of experimental. But we could look at the number of holders, perhaps. Like, that might give us an idea of, like, the traction it's having. Yeah, this like, numbers are all crazy. But this one kind of gives an indication, I think. This one should be correct, roughly speaking. So about 5,000 addresses holding it. I don't know if we could see that. You can't see it here even. Oh yeah, actually, if you go here.
Yeah.
Holders.
So yeah, 4,915.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's like roughly. I think the reason we have a bit higher is because we're not properly removing the ones that have sent them out, because of some data stuff that happens when you try to read NFTs as ERC20s. So it's more like just a weird side effect from like abusing this dashboard. But yeah, I mean, that's maybe something that's interesting. It shows up on the radar there, at least in the gas tracker. I'd never heard about it, and now we know about it. So
let us also say that nothing here is financial advice. Do your own research on it.
Yes. Please don't ape into So Rare just from us mentioning the name and showing you the address. But yeah, so why, again, like, how can this be useful? I mean, you could use it to discover stuff that's happening on the blockchain in real time. So that's how I would think about this dashboard, and to understand what's driving gas. That's those are the two things I would say that this dashboard helps with. And the visual, we wanted to show this as well because the style of this is new, and hopefully you see this is more dark mode oriented, and we're at least quite happy with the way it looks, but we want to hear what you guys think. We're going to make some tweaks based on the feedback we get from you. So please let us know what you think about this new style, because we want to make all dashboards basically have this style eventually.
Yep. Let us continue our exploration now. There's a couple places we could go. So on the dashboard there, we saw Tornado Cash in a couple spots. We could either check that out, or recently with the NFT hype, B20 has been going gangbusters, and there's a bunch of NFT stuff we could dive deeper down. B20, Mask, Bull Run Babes.
Do we have Mask, or I think we have
I'm not sure we have Mask, but we can always toss it.
I mean, if we don't have it, if we don't have it, we'll just plug it into custom, but I'm pretty sure we have it. No, it looks like we don't have it. Okay, we're going to look that up separately. All right, should we start with Torn? Oh man, we don't have this as well. I just
we do have B20. Torn. Let's see.
Okay, B20 is here. I think I just added Torn, so it might take a little bit of time to propagate. If not, we're just going to plug it into custom. It's not a problem. You can plug in any ERC20 token. You just go to Token God mode, custom down here. And you can then input a token address instead of the symbol. So you don't need to wait for us to add your token. I'm just going to show you that you can do this with the Tornado Cash token, for example. You grab this, grab the address, go back here, plug it in, hit enter, and now you get the Token God mode that you know and love for this token, even without us having listed it for you.
What was
should we do B20 first?
Yeah, we can do B20 first.
All right.
I'm actually curious who's participating in the B20 wrapped ETH depositors, like who's providing the liquidity there, because I mean they've gotten wrecked on impermanent loss, like in a severe way this week. Yeah.
In this one, yeah? In this
Yeah,
one?
I just want to check out the fallen
If,
soldiers here.
let's look at the depositors.
So just for anyone who's following along here, because it's a bit laggy on our end, uh, B20 in token god mode, scroll down to top balances, and then in any top balance you can find smart contracts or any sort of staking contract. You scroll to the right and you click on the depositors tab.
Here.
Yeah.
Uh, One thing that people have complained about, and it's a good point, is that if you scroll all the way from the left to the right, it's sometimes hard to click the right link. You don't know which row you're on. And so when we update this to the new user interface layout, the rows will be highlighting when you hover them. So it's going to be easier to see that you're actually clicking the right link. Okay, so these are the people that have deposited B20 into this pool. This could also be bots that are selling B20, actually. So it's a mix of liquidity pool providers and also people that have just been dumping the B20 token.
Yeah. I mean, there really isn't that much liquidity, I don't think. So
112,000
yeah,
sitting in it.
I think it's around $5 now, so 500K. I guess a
Let's
mil
see.
since it's
$5,
doubled.
yeah. Yeah. 488. So yeah.
Yeah,
5.
and then
Mm-hmm.
doubled.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah.
So there's a GRT distribution participant, bywall.eth. That's pretty cool. Neonbear.eth, alt.eth, a bunch of elite dex traders. I think the elite dex traders are probably our bots or that have been dumping this token.
You,
See a lead few
when
now.
we revamp the UI, it'd be interesting if when you hover over these addresses, there's a little tooltip that pops up all of the different labels that we have for someone. So, for
Yeah,
example, if it's bywall.eth, you hover over them and you see that they've got 6 other ENS addresses
yes,
that you might recognize
100%.
them by.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah, I love it. Um, Happy to hear you noted that down.
Yeah, here, let me type.
Here's here's not hash masks, but has masks. I have to say, clicking through this stuff, I don't see a lot of smart money here.
Yeah, well,
I mean, I don't want to say anything bad about these, but there's not a single smart money tag here,
right.
which is not a great look, to be perfectly honest.
Wait, sorry. Can you go back? I guess I lost it.
Oh,
But
there's one here,
oh
but they
no,
have
it flashed
zero.
away.
They have
Yeah.
zero though, so they're no longer there.
So
Okay.
these are people who must still have a little bit of dust in there.
Yeah, could be.
I wonder if you sort by last out and check when the last out, like when there was a large cluster of last outs. So today we're the 17th, and yeah, last out. It looks like a ton of people got out recently, which makes sense considering the price like doubled
Yeah.
yesterday. Or 4 Arrows Capital in the chat asks, "What is the token millionaire designation, and what is the
Mm-hmm.
smart money designation?"
Yeah. So token millionaire means they have at least $1 million in USD in different ERC20 tokens in their wallet. And smart money is, I would say, a little bit more complex because it's actually several different concepts grouped in one. We created that category because we wanted a way to track addresses that you might care about because they have done good investments in the past. They're like high profile funds. They are liquidity providers that have tended to generate, high yields. And so they're kind of noteworthy addresses that you probably want to pay attention to what they're doing. And so yeah, it's a mix of known like crypto funds, hedge funds, VC funds, um, anonymous traders who have done really well in the past, and yield farmers who have succeeded, yield farming profitably in the past as well.
Yep. No problem. 4 arrows, he said thanks in the chat. Let's keep it moving. So if anyone has any projects again that they'd like us to look into, feel free to mention it. Otherwise, we'll keep, I think, diving through here. I think we can transition on to Tornado.
Yeah. By the way, there was a B20 sale, right? This was a token sale, right?
Yeah, so it was an interesting art project where people did some auction of his everyday art, which is he's been doing art for the past, I don't know, like 10 years or something, every single day, and recently got more into digital art and then got into NFTs. And so there was an auction that a guy named Medicovan bought up, I think, these 20 pieces, and then combined them with some digital land and some Blau track, and tokenized the whole thing, and then sold it at auction. And just recently, it was announced that Beeple is doing some auction with Christie's, the auction house.
Cool.
And so this is going absolutely gangbusters.
That's interesting. I just noted some some ENS names while we were talking about this that refer to Axie, which is like an NFT project as well. So I'm just curious to see if there's like a big overlap in, like here as well, Axie.eth. There's a big overlap in like those two communities. This is pretty big actually on that side.
Mm-hmm.
So basically like 10% of every B20 holder is also an Axie holder.
That's pretty cool.
That's quite a big overlap. You don't normally see that high overlap. And some of the biggest ones, neonbear.eth, axiechampion.eth, medium dex trader, okay. Aurora or for Aurora, Coco
Aurora,
Bear,
maybe.
yeah, Axie.eth. Yeah, it's like that's kind of interesting. There's like a little cluster of Axie and B20 fans. Maybe they were talking about this project in their Discord or something.
Maybe, yeah.
Like NFT fans. Anyway, that's pretty cool. You can use this token overlap to plug in two different tokens and see what the overlap is in terms of holders. Okay, that was a digression. Cool.
Tornado?
What do you want to look at next? Tornado? Let's do it. All right. So just to remind you, for this one I'm using Token God Mode Custom, which lets me plug in any ERC20 token address. So that's what I've plugged in here. And you can see DEX traders increasingly getting this token because I guess there was a yield farming program or liquidity mining scheme for this. You also see exchanges getting them more and more. And it looks like 1inch is the biggest pool for this. MXC, Uniswap, Gate.io, SushiSwap, Poloniex, Who, and Hotbit. Okay, maybe let's go down and see what are some of the changes in accumulation. So over the last 7 days, it looks like most of the Torn tokens have gone into the 1inch pool. I think that's because they had liquidity rewards for this pool. So you'd probably earn, I guess, 1inch tokens from providing liquidity. Do you mind muting? I can hear your keyboard. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just answering a question in the chat,
no
which
worries.
is someone mentioned it would be interesting to identify smart money NFT wallets as well, since it's a different type of
that's a cool idea.
It is a really cool idea.
Yeah, actually, that's maybe we should have like a smart NFT trader type of label. That's cool.
in tandem with NFT God mode.
Yes. Yeah, we need that too. Um, that's a great suggestion. Did you note it down, Daniel?
Yes.
Cool, thanks. Um, nice. Okay, so Torn tokens have been flowing into 1inch, and they've also been flowing into MXC. There are some ENS names here, maybe ironically, because Torn is for tornado, which is kind of like a privacy protocol, right? Which lets you mix funds. And well, we have stables.eth, hieroglyph.eth, some gate.io addresses, and then a bunch of like heavy DEX traders and so on.
So hieroglyph.eth must be a team wallet, I'm guessing, since they
Oh,
received it
because
60 days ago.
that's a great observation. Yes, let's have a look maybe. So if you scroll down, oh nice, we have pretty good labels here. I've never looked at this before. Top balances looks like there's governance vesting, reward swap, and then team vesting, team wallets that are vesting. I like to look at these vesting wallets and just check the sent column because you can see if they claimed any. And so it looks like they've claimed 0, probably because they still haven't vested any tokens, I would imagine. Yeah, and so let's see, stables.eth, that's one we looked at above, but you were mentioning another one, right? Hieroglyph, this one. Yeah, that's kind of unusual. Maybe we can check this out. We can click the profiler. So they received tokens on December 19th. That's like way before everyone else.
It looks like they had 2,342, or sorry, 2,642, and now they've got 1,321. So maybe they just swapped half for providing liquidity, if I were to guess, when I see clean numbers like that.
That's a good. Oh man, that's annoying. It's because we don't have this token listed
right,
yet,
right.
so that's actually kind of bad. Well, we can look at where it received its tokens from. Let's do recipients. No, let's do depositors, which will show which other wallets have been depositing funds into this one.
Right.
So, close that. Let's see here. What's going on here? Problem displaying this chart. Man, a bit unlucky today. Let's try this again.
Bear with us, folks.
The demo effect. Let's see if it works this time. No, it doesn't. Something's broken.
Maybe it, could
Red
it be
alert.
that it wasn't someone depositing into it? It was a smart contract that they claimed from or something? Or would it still show up?
Could be. I mean, it could be. This one, yeah, it's kind of annoying because I would have liked to look at the profiler, and we can't, just for a technical reason, because we need to have the token symbol, and we didn't whitelist it yet. Maybe I can try doing this, but I don't think it's gonna work. Yeah, but it seems kind of curious, right? That where did this get the tokens? Seems odd. Seems like it received it from.
So I think there were vouchers or something to that effect that you could redeem. So
Yeah,
maybe they
that's
received actually VTorn, and
okay.
then they converted it to Tornado when it was. And so if you go back to the top balances on the first page,
Sorry. Top balances. Yeah, first page.
top balances, first page.
There you go.
I think there was something.
Voucher.
Either
This one, yeah.
yeah, voucher or something like that.
Just wondering if can we look at who's been receiving? I'm just wondering if there's something wrong with this. Either this token or. I did rush to add this. There is a chance I might have broken something. In fact, I'm just gonna have a quick look at
Well, now it
this.
is showing the token symbol. So,
Yeah, I'm wondering if it just got duplicated. Yeah, it did. That's why. Okay. So someone was saying we didn't have it, but looks like we do have it. But it was duplicated there.
you mean someone? I think it was you right before we launched.
Yeah, no, yeah. A user asked me if we could add it, but we
Oh,
already
okay.
had it. We just hadn't. I think we added it one place, but not another place. Anyway, that's what happens. In about 1 hour, this problem will be resolved. But it was probably not a great idea to look at this one live. We can maybe look at another token.
Yeah, let's do
So
it.
this, so when you basically just to wrap up on that. So if you want to go into this dashboard, you first of all you shouldn't even have to plug in your custom token. You should just be able to go to token god mode and then plug in Torn there, and you will be able to look at the wallet profiler and all that stuff that we were trying to do, but we couldn't because I had messed up on the data entry side 1 minute before we went live.
It happens. It
It
happens.
happens.
In the chat, we have a request to look into Bow Finance, so maybe we can pop up Bow there.
All right. Let's see. Bow.
There we go.
Have you looked at this one before?
I looked at Bow right when it came out and missed the boat, unfortunately, but it is what it is. But it has been doing pretty well, I think. They got listed on FTX. I think they've proven themselves as noteworthy, at least. Like it's not like a food token that is quick to be dismissed.
Alameda has been locking up, I guess, maybe to trade against the holdings that are on FTX,
Possibly.
perhaps.
So maybe you can walk us through what you're looking at here
Yeah.
as you scroll through.
Yeah, so I mean, I always like to just look at the exchanges first to get an idea of where the liquidity is sitting. And this seems like a pretty good example of a token that launched and liquidity was primarily on Uniswap in the beginning. And then people started gobbling it up. And then at some point, the liquidity situation diversified dramatically because SushiSwap entered to be another liquidity source. And then Gate.io listed it. So then that became another liquidity source. And then, well, some of these smaller exchanges, Bilaxi and Hotbit, listed it as well. But FTX listed it. And FTX is now the third largest holder among the exchanges of this token, which is quite interesting if you think about it in terms of liquidity and like where you might want to trade it. So probably FTX is the best avenue if you want to trade it on a centralized exchange. And then liquidity, interestingly, is split pretty much evenly between Uniswap and SushiSwap, which means I would imagine if you're making a large transaction, you're probably better off using a DEX aggregator, so your order can be split between those two pools. Yeah, if everything had been on SushiSwap or everything had been on Uniswap, you could have just gone directly there, but you might be better off using a DEX aggregator in this case. That's the kind of insight you can just get from this, just looking at this. Then, of course, it's always fun to look at who's accumulating the tokens and who's like selling them off or who's, sending them out of their own wallet at least. And the accumulators, the token itself, I'm not sure why that happens, but interesting. Maybe there's some way you can deposit BAO tokens back into its own contract. Not sure. Or maybe it has some kind of like yield farming mechanism or something. I'm sure people will know. BAO Master Farmer. Okay, maybe that's like Master Chef for sushi. And then FTX, is a big one. Gate.io, Alameda, interesting. My guess, I mean, I don't know, but my guess would be that is in order to sort of somehow balance what is on FTX itself so they can market make effectively on FTX, because when the guys at FTX see, they have this amount of volume, but there's actually quite a lot of tokens on Uniswap and SushiSwap. When they're market making, they want to be present on those two dexes as well, right? Because it's just a way to balance the price between those different exchanges. And so this elite DEX trader address that Alameda owns can then trade basically on those avenues as well, simultaneously or at the same time as they're trading on FTX itself, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that Alameda is like taking a directional bet on BAO, but I think it's more likely that they're doing this to market make the token. That would be my interpretation, without knowing, of course.
In the chat, there was a question which was, can we look at top token holders for a token excluding exchanges and contracts?
Excluding exchanges and contracts. You can't do that at the moment. But that's probably something we could implement.
Right, like a filter to look at a specific subsegment. I guess right now the closest we have to that is the DEX traders line in that very top chart that excludes exchanges and contracts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be better to get more granularity.
Yeah, I guess the idea is that, when looking at like who's accumulating it, you don't really care that much about an exchange accumulating it, right? Or in some cases, you might not care about like a yield farm or a contract receiving a lot of tokens. You want to know like who's buying it. So yeah, what did you say was like the best way? You mean this one would be like a way to look at this, or what was your proposal on
the very top chart, which shows DEX traders and exchanges? Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea.
Because the remaining amount, so really there's just three venues or three categories of places. It could be either with individuals, with exchanges, or with smart contracts. And so these two lines plus contracts makes up 100%, or it should, right?
Yes and no. Like you could have other types of addresses. It's not a totally, it's not a mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive set. But I mean, you'd be close to 100% probably, yeah. Because you could be just like an address that holds the tokens without trading them, right? If I send,
right, that's an individual.
Yeah, but it's not a DEX trader.
Got it. Okay. Well, okay.
So if you, let's say, I don't know, I'm doing some contracting work for BAO or whatever, and then I receive some tokens, but I'm not going to trade them. I just hold them in a wallet, right? That's not a DEX trader. It's not an exchange. It's also not a smart contract.
What is the signal that you receive from just looking at DEX traders rather than just individuals as a whole, or like hodlers as a segment?
I mean, yeah, the thing is, like, it's hard to know who's an individual. So the DEX trader, I would say, is kind of like, it's a proxy to talk about individuals, but we don't know that they're individuals. And in fact, there are funds as well that are DEX traders, like Alameda, and so calling it individuals. The thing is, we can't know who is an individual and who's like a fund or, something, unless we know who the fund is.
Right. In future iterations of this chart here, could we have a more granular breakdown of who's holding what?
Yeah. It's a good suggestion. And like one thing we talked about adding is like DeFi protocols or something like that, which you can imagine having like Compound or Aave and so on added to this chart, because that, although you might not necessarily add up to 100 like you were talking about, like you get close to adding up to 100 at some point. So there's going to be kind of like an unknown section left, I think. But you could do DEX traders, exchanges, DeFi protocols, for example, or like other smart contracts, right? Because exchanges can also be smart contracts, like the Uniswap pools and SushiSwap.
Governance as well.
Oh yeah, governance could be a good one. Yeah. Absolutely. So I think this one, definitely could use V2 version of this with more categories. But we could look at the Alameda wallet though. Like, what's it doing?
Yeah.
Is it just like providing liquidity? Is it trading? Yeah, that's a pretty, it's a pretty large chunk of the total supply. 0.16% of all the tokens.
In the chat, Barat has another good suggestion, which is um, it would be interesting to look at the top balance holders, top like individual token holders, and check their balance over time.
Hmm. You mean something like this, or
Yes, exactly like that.
yeah, yeah. It's a cool idea. So this shows the top 5 because top 20 it does get a bit messy. But so here you see how this BOW token contract itself has been expanding. That's kind of weird, but yeah. The master farmer as well. I guess these two are farms, right?
Yeah. He says like that chart, but minus the exchanges, which I think actually is a good point. I mean, the exchanges or these farming contracts kind of skew the whole
right,
shebang.
Right. So if we just had like individual or like what are non-exchanges and non-contracts, that's a good idea. The deployer is here. So this token millionaire, like these two, are maybe more interesting to people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Unique addresses. But yeah, we were gonna look at Alameda. So what's Alameda been doing with these BOW tokens? At least in this wallet, they might have several wallets. Looks like they received them February 3rd. That's like 2 weeks ago. Started off with around 500,000. Yeah. So yeah, they've been, somehow accumulating this. They've been basically doing all of this stuff on Uniswap and SushiSwap. And then they've sent some to FTX. I feel like this is kind of validation of my hypothesis, earlier. It's like they're trading on the DEXs. They actually seem to have bought these tokens on the DEXs and then sent a lot of it to FTX. In fact, the largest transaction they did was to send 500,000 tokens to their own deposit wallet on the FTX exchange.
And that was on February 6th. What day was BOW listed on FTX?
Good question. FTX BOW listing.
Well, also we can just check on the deposits or the
3rd of February.
The 3rd of February. Okay.
3rd of February. There we go. So that's when they bought them. They needed some liquidity. So you can sort this. Maybe we want to look at this from a chronological perspective. So it's pretty cool how you can see this actually. It's like, hey, we need to get some liquidity on our own exchange. Let's just buy tons on SushiSwap and Uniswap.
Yeah.
And then they're just accumulating. Actually, look at the time here. So they start accumulating like 1:48 a.m., right? And they're just like constantly buying from SushiSwap and Uniswap. And look at the time. Like it's like 9:45, 46, 47, 48. I mean, they're just like picking all this stuff up. I want to see the price chart for this because it's pretty interesting actually.
I think it pumped pretty heavily that day.
I mean, they must have when they were buying all that stuff, all those tokens. Like, let's see here. Sorry, let's see. Yeah, here we go, right? That's that day. Wow. So now you know why it pumped.
Yeah. But I don't think, I wouldn't say it's obvious that they were, you can't look at this and say they were pumping it. It was just they were trying to get liquidity for FTX.
But I mean, if someone's buying this amount of tokens from Uniswap or SushiSwap, this is what's going to happen to the price.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. I mean, they were really going all over the place to... okay, maybe one way to think about this is that, it lists on FTX, people go crazy, they start buying it, there's not enough liquidity on FTX, so Alameda as a market maker goes out on SushiSwap and Uniswap and buys a bunch of tokens there, right? So they can serve their customers, right, on FTX. It's the job of a market maker.
it's an interesting way to think about like bullish exchange listings. Like this is why exchange listings can be bullish. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just like people buying from the outside. It's not like if you list something on Coinbase, the external people buying it are pumping it. It's more like you need to reallocate supply, and by taking basically you need to like buy supply off of different venues and then
Yeah.
resell it on a different venue.
Yeah. The interesting thing, and like I don't know how FTX works or how they operate, right? But the interesting thing is like if they buy here, like do they even need to deposit right away to FTX, or can they just like credit themselves with BAO tokens on FTX without even depositing? If you see what I mean?
I think they
Because
would. I
they own
mean,
the exchange. I mean, like why wouldn't you just say, hey, I know I have this like 10 million BAO tokens because I have them in my wallets. I'm just gonna credit myself with the tokens right away on FTX, right?
I think they could. Although I think they're very
I
buttoned
don't
down
want.
with like risk management, and so I
Yes,
think
yeah.
they probably have these things pretty well set up.
It would be an amazing advantage, you know.
Yeah.
And like why wouldn't you, right? It's a good
Well,
thing.
for risk, I think they're very cautious about risk, and they've got like the system set up to protect
Yeah,
themselves.
I mean, I'd love to like. Of course, they're not going to share it. I'd love to discuss with them about this because it's like it's a really interesting case study because it would make sense to
Fractional
just like
reserve market making.
it's not really fractional reserve though because they have the tokens. It's just not they didn't transfer them to FTX yet, but they know they have the tokens, so they can afford just saying like, look, I'm going to credit myself with 100 million BAO tokens or whatever it is, like 10, 15, 50 million tokens. They're just sitting in this other wallet and I'm going to deposit them in like 5 minutes. But
Right.
right now I really need to have that liquidity on FTX. So I'm just going to credit myself it and I'm going to start selling it.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, that's
Uh,
what I would do. Like if I run the exchange, I mean,
well,
um, but yeah,
so
if
maybe
you, if,
good thing you're not running an exchange then.
but like, what I mean is, it is a good thing for a market maker. It's a good thing for the market to do that, right?
Right.
But it also shows that if they're doing this, they obviously have an advantage, against other market makers who actually have to send the funds there and deposit them, etc. So that's why I'm curious, like, if they would do that at all.
Yeah, I think that's fair. For anyone in the audience, and actually for you, there's a fantastic video on YouTube of the Alameda guys, like including Sam, trading some large block of Bitcoin across multiple exchanges. Someone put up
Yeah,
like a
it's a good
7K
video.
BTC sell wall, and it's really interesting seeing how they're analyzing the situation and moving funds across different venues and managing their positions. It really is like a game. It's like an
Yeah,
esport for them.
100%. And they're the best guys in the space, so they really know what they're doing. It's a good video to learn from.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, it's interesting to see like they were just accumulating for a while, then they were sending the tokens to what we have flagged as a high activity wallet. I'm gonna look into that afterwards to figure out what that is, because then they sent to an FTX deposit wallet. So yeah, I'm kind of guessing that maybe this is also FTX related.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a fun thing to look into. Um, Interesting to see how the best people are actually trading like on chain.
Yeah. In the chat, Barat mentions Alameda also bought NFTX. That might be interesting to chase down too. Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe for market making or something like that.
Hmm.
That they bought
Yeah,
it.
I want to have a look at that.
I wonder if
Yeah,
there's
totally
any
good
sort
stuff
of
there.
indication of listings. Like, so they announced it and bought it on the same day. I wonder if they did that out of necessity or like to kind of not um, not tip people off that they were going to list it or something like that.
So I don't have the exact time here. It says 3rd of February. It would be nice to have the exact time. Uh, yeah,
Here's another thing we can actually look into. So with that
here
same
we go.
with
I found the exact time. I think it is the time it was published. Um, yeah, we don't know the time zone, but yeah. might have been Hong Kong time, assuming like FTX is Hong Kong. 4:29. Yeah, it's
Well,
probably Hong Kong time.
one thing we can check here real quick is we can check if this Alameda wallet is like a market making wallet. Maybe we can so under wallet profiler we can swap out BAO with one of the other tokens that got listed, like Badger or Lena.
Good idea. Let's do that. Badger?
Yeah, I think maybe just double check on the listing page.
In fact, I'm wondering if we should just label this more clearly. We can just call it a market maker.
Well, let's verify.
Yeah. Yeah, assuming that's correct.
So February 3rd, looking like it.
Yeah. I mean, they got a tiny bit before that, but
Right. February 4th, mostly.
very similar, huh? SushiSwap, Uniswap, and Huobi. So let's sort this again. Same thing, right? Look at this. Buying lots of Badger. But they're actually... Oh, okay, interesting. They seem to be like... Maybe they're arbing, or... No, actually they're selling back again. It's the same. Yeah. So you can... You can see how they're picking up the tokens. And then... I don't know here, maybe they're providing liquidity, or if they're actually selling... No, they're actually selling it back again. So this is like, it's pretty interesting. I mean, on the one hand, I guess they would argue like, oh, this doesn't tell you anything because, we don't see what they do on the centralized exchanges, right? So you kind of see half the picture with this stuff. But at least you see half, right? You see one part of what they're doing, which is kind of interesting. And I would imagine as a market maker, a lot of the stuff they do is like mirrored on the centralized exchange. Like if they're buying here, they're selling on a centralized exchange, right?
Maybe
buy low, sell high.
Let's toss in NFTX here and see if they're doing anything with NFTX on this wallet, based on Barat's comment.
Yeah, good idea. So we've got BAO, Badger, seem to be doing the same thing. Nope. Don't think there's any NFTX tokens in this one.
That being said, that's just this wallet. There could be some other ones.
Perp?
Lena.
Is that another one? Lena? Maybe? I don't know if we have that token.
I think we should.
Let's try it. By the way, like the way they interact with the blockchain when they make these trades, like it's definitely, at least semi-automated, right? It's not like they're sitting there clicking MetaMask, like buy and sell, buy and sell. Okay, Lena, let's see. Oh, this one they actually, they bought a tiny bit November. That's odd.
I think Alameda was an investor in Lena, if I recall correctly. Linear Finance, I think, is what it is.
Okay, maybe that's from this wallet. That's a big one from another Alameda wallet, not the same one. Maybe, yeah, we can. There's a lot of stuff to dive into here, but I'm gonna have it. I'm just gonna do a quick shortcut here. Sorry about that. I just copied the address of that other Alameda wallet into the same URL so I can get the same view. Let's see. Because then we can check out what you were saying. Like if they were an investor, maybe this was the wallet they used to receive their investment tokens. And kind of looks like it, doesn't it? Bulk standard proxy, 8 million, and then they sent that straight to BitMax deposit. Huh.
Maybe market making. We give them the benefit of the doubt there.
Benefit of the doubt, yeah. Then there's this Alien token locker, maybe another like vesting contract that they use. Yeah. But this is definitely the address they use to receive the tokens from their investment, if they were an early investor. Just going back to this one. So
Yeah, I mean, the conclusion here is like everything picks up on February 3rd when they list it. So that's interesting to see.
That's February 3rd here. That's one. So they list on February 3rd. They send the tokens from their investor wallet, if we can call it that, to the market maker wallet, and slowly they start selling them.
Well, to be fair, we're just assuming it's a market maker wallet. I mean, it's what it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, when I say market maker, I mean we don't know the intention of it, right? But I mean, it's definitely a very actively trading wallet. It's not like this other one, which seems to be more manually controlled.
Right. I think it's quite interesting that that if you look at the timestamps of when they receive the tokens, they're all like very rapid fire across the different pools. It's almost like they've got like an internal aggregator, and
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's like it's definitely they have their own tools to interface with the blockchain, so that they can, rapidly execute these trades.
Yeah, without I don't know, getting wrecked on gas fees or something like that. Although I'd be curious to see like how much.
It's more slippage, right? It's more on the slippage. They don't want to get wrecked on slippage.
Yeah, but if you were to use an aggregator, well, yeah, I don't
know. So what do you mean when you say aggregator?
Like 1inch or DexAG or Matcha or something like that. Like they theoretically could be buying all these tokens across, or like using.
Okay, so you're
1inch.
Actually maybe you're talking more like kind of a router, like they route the trades to like the different pools in a
on their own. And like if you look at the timestamps, there is a little gap between. So
that's probably true. Yeah, agree. That's probably what they're doing. They're kind of like, we have integrations with SushiSwap and Uniswap, and we're gonna go where we get the best price. Just sell. Like I want to sell this amount. Yeah.
I'd be curious if you look at those, like a few of those that are back to back. So for example, if you go back to the first page, and you look at the one like 149, 150, 150, 154, 155. If we pull up the transactions on that and we check the gas fees, if they're setting a fixed amount or if there's some sort of algorithmic setting of that. Well, we can assume algorithmic, but 348.
Yeah, I guess you want to see down here, right?
Well, you just see the gas price, not the gas limit.
Yeah, 348, 202. I think the gas price has to be algorithmic. I mean, it doesn't make sense to 202, 202. Okay, well, I'm wrong there. 202. Actually, maybe I'm wrong. Let's see. Are they all in the same block? I mean, it could still be algorithmic, right? Like it's just that they update it, at certain intervals. 258. I would look at like the gas limit actually, because this is sometimes quite revealing, because the same entity will use the same gas limit. There's no reason to update this one algorithmically. That's just a constant.
Well, yeah, but the gas limit is typically just told by the smart contract, no? Like when you interact with a smart contract, they'll just set some gas limit with some margin of error because you don't use up the full gas limit. Like when you look at the gas used, it's only like 60% here.
Right, but if you pick someone else, like let's say if we just grab like I think we're looking at Lena now, but it doesn't really matter that much. Like if we just take any other transaction from anyone, let's see, I don't know, let's take this one here. The Dex trader who's claiming something from Bow Master Farmer. Like the gas limit here is something totally different.
Well, because it's a very complex transaction.
Okay, fair. Like let's do the same. You want to just grab like a token, right? Like a token being sent from A to B. Yeah. So let's see if we can find that. Here's someone sending to FTX deposit. All right, it could actually be Alameda, but like, yeah, okay, fair. gas limit's 80,000, right?
Yeah.
This is more in line with what I've seen. I mean, I know that I think, it depends on the token a bit, but it's roughly around, I think, 40 to 60,000 that token spends in gas. And
For a
so
simple transfer?
for a simple transfer. And okay, that's fair. This is different because it's a trade. So there has to have a gas limit that's higher.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would have to look at other swaps, to match this and see if it's the same. But my point is really, it could be that the gas limit that they set is revealing for who they are, because I don't think MetaMask is just going to give you around 250,000 gas limit, if you're just trading on Uniswap as an individual user.
Maybe not.
I'm happy to look into that and confirm it later.
Yeah.
To prove it to
you. All right.
But I can't show my own transactions here on air for my MetaMask.
All right, DM me the proof, bro.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, I think we are coming up on time. It has been an interesting session here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Alex, did you have anything to add before we wrap it up?
No. Maybe I should mention that we don't have any insider knowledge on Alameda as such. We are literally just going by what we see from the on-chain data. So, hopefully this was useful, but also keep in mind that we don't know anything more than what we see in the on-chain transactions.
Yeah. So this is all tinfoil hat type theories, and DYOR. Maybe ping SBF on Twitter if you have any absurd theories that you want debunked.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you everyone for joining. And if you want to reach us throughout the week, feel free to ping us on Twitter or on Discord. Sign up for the newsletter if you aren't already at nansen.ai/news. And we'll be posting this on YouTube. So if you want to see anything that you missed, feel free to pop on over there at nansen.ai/YouTube. All right. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the all-time highs. Enjoy another great week of trading and shitcoining. Catch you later.